What's up, plant lovers? I'm Devin Wallien, and in today's video I want to go through 5 colorful perennials that do well in boggy conditions. So I'm here in Westchester, Pennsylvania, zone 6B, now zone 7A, and this spring, as every other spring over the last 3 years since I've lived here, has been quite wet. And I've identified a few areas in my garden that stay exceptionally wet throughout the spring and even into the summer, and then back again in the autumn as well. In particular, I have this bed right here next to my home. Down below, I have a sump pump that's constantly running, it seems, over the last 2 months. And my sump pump exits along this pipe that you can see I have here. And I've kind of directed the water to go to a certain area so that the water is kind of really contained in one area. So maybe in your garden you have areas that stay quite boggy and wet, or you have a drainage, a downspout or a sump pump exit that creates a very wet condition. So what can you plant there that's a perennial that's also going to be colorful? Now you should note that the perennials on this list, while they do love those wet, boggy conditions, they also need a good amount of sunlight, at least a half a day of sun. My first intuition was to put a big leaf hydrangea. Most of us are aware that those plants do like a lot of water, but as you can see, this plant has just been sitting in water and it has absolutely died. When there is too much water present in soil, that really takes all the available oxygen out of that soil, and not a lot of plants can live well in those conditions. So what plants can we use in those areas? The very first plant I want to talk about is the purple flame Iris versicolor. This was introduced by Mount Cuba Center, a botanical garden not far from where I live, only a few years ago. And it's called the purple flame because in the early springtime, the foliage emerges as this beautiful, rich purple. And then they have these flower spikes that the stems of the flower spikes are also purple with beautiful blue flag iris blooms. Now, as we transition from spring to summer, the foliage will definitely lose some of that purple color, but these plants are exceptional in wet, boggy areas. They can even grow along a stream's edge where it remains inundated with water all the time. Even you can plant them underneath the surface of that stream's edge if you have that sort of situation in your garden. So for me, in an area that pools up with water, this is a perfect choice, and these are winter hardy from zones 3 to 9. Now you may be wondering, what plant do I have directly where the sump pump lets its water out? Well, that would be this beautiful Clethra alnifolia, a summer sweet, but in particular, I'm growing the ruby spice. Now this is gonna be a woody deciduous shrub that gets about 4 feet tall and wide, so it should fill this area out quite beautifully. And this is a more compact cultivar than the straight Clethra alnifolia. Those plants can get 5 or 6 feet tall and wide, much larger. But the ruby spice is really nice because it has beautiful pink flowers like you can see. And this plant is winter hardy from zones 4 to 9. Now the next plant on the list would be the Asclepias incarnata. This would be the swamp milkweed. There's a few different species of Asclepias, so make sure if you have the boggy areas that you get the right species. The Asclepias tuberosa, which has the orange flowers, is more situated for drier conditions than this Asclepias incarnata. I particularly like the cultivar called Cinderella. It's a little bit more compact, not as crazy growing as the straight species of Asclepias incarnata. These do not mind being wet all the time. And one thing that makes Asclepias so beautiful is that this is a host plant for the monarch butterflies. So if you want to bring the monarch butterflies to your garden, this is an awesome option for you to add to your wet areas of the garden. Now, if you want to bring a little bit of tropical energy to your boggy, wet areas, consider Hibiscus moscheutos. This is the swamp mallow, the winter hardy hibiscus. They typically will have large hibiscus flowers that are absolutely beautiful. They typically bloom middle of summertime all the way through autumn. One of my favorite compact growing swamp mallow would be the Honeymoon Hibiscus series, which is a lot more compact. It only grows around 2 feet tall and wide, but they still sport beautifully large flowers. Another series would be the Summerific. They have exceptional flower colors, very rich, saturated. And these are winter hardies from zones 5 to 10. And lastly would be Lobelia cardinalis. This is the cardinal flower. If you're lucky enough to have a stream or a river's edge in your property, this is a perfect plant. Like that iris versicolor purple flame, this can grow right next to the water's edge and it's going to absolutely love it. It needs to stay moist, so if you have drier conditions, this is not the plant for you, but they are beloved for bringing hummingbirds to your garden because of their red flowers. Many of us are aware that hummingbirds love red, so if you want to bring hummingbirds to your garden, Lobelia cardinalis is great, and they also provide a nice upright vertical growth structure, which is, offsets a lot of our more rounded formed perennials in the garden. All right, so let's take a look how to get these planted. Of course, when we take it out of the pot, we want to break those root balls up just a little bit. And then if you're digging your hole and you find water at the base of that hole, well, that's why we're watching this video, right? That's going to be a-okay. And then backfill it with the native soil. It's going to be perfect. We don't need to add any mulch at all either. Well, if you have wet, boggy, moist areas in your garden and you want to add some colorful perennials, hopefully this helps you get that list growing, gives you some inspiration, some jumping off points so that you can find the very best plants for you in your garden. If you did enjoy this video, consider subscribing. We're bringing new plant related content every single week. Thanks for joining me here on Plant Vibrations. I'll catch you later. Ciao.